Coming up on Arirang News, South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin and his U.S. counterpart Antony Blinken shared their deep concerns about military cooperation between North Korea and Russia during their talks in Seoul, discussing measures to pressure them. They also called on China to play its role. Amid the intensifying Israel-Hamas war, Israel and Türkiye have agreed to send child cancer patients in Gaza to Türkiye for treatment. In the meantime, the Israel Defense Forces says it has captured key Hamas stronghold after a 10-hour battle. South Korea's state-run think tank projects the country's economy to expand by 2.2% next year on the back of a gradual recovery in exports. But it's a cut from its previous outlook in August due to weak consumer spending amid high interest rates. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with top diplomats of South Korea and the U.S. sharing concerns on military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, currently visiting Korea, held a meeting with his South Korean counterpart Park Jin this afternoon, discussing measures to pressure them. They also urged China to cooperate in addressing North Korea's deepening military ties with Russia. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae-eun-ji leads us off.
Top diplomats of South Korea and the U.S. on Thursday called on China to play a constructive role in dealing with North Korea's deepening military ties with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who arrived in South Korea the day before, warned that the situation is very concerning after holding a meeting with Seoul's Foreign Minister Park Jin. In a joint press conference, Blinken explained that the U.S. is seeing a two-way street when it comes to ties between Pyongyang and Moscow.
We're seeing the DPRK provide military equipment to Russia for pursuing its aggression against Ukraine, but we're also seeing Russia provide technology and support to the DPRK for its own military programs.
He also stressed the importance of China's role in pulling North Korea back from what he called the regime's irresponsible and dangerous behavior.
China has a unique relationship with North Korea. As a result of that relationship, it has real influence, and we do look to China to use that influence to play a constructive role in pulling North Korea back from this irresponsible and dangerous behavior.
Seoul's Foreign Minister Park Jin also said it will not be beneficial to China's national interests if tensions in the East Asia region continue to escalate due to arms cooperation between Russia and North Korea.
South Korea and the US will work together to call on China to address concerns from neighboring countries as well as the international community so that it can play its role to make sure this kind of dangerous deal does not happen.
Ahead of his meeting with Park, Blinken also met President Yoon over lunch. Yoon said now is a time when U.S. leadership is becoming increasingly important due to instability in the Middle East, along with the issue of North Korea and the war in Ukraine, and vowed to work closely with Washington. In response, Blinken said U.S. foreign policy remains focused on the Indo-Pacific region and that Washington intends to further strengthen its strategic partnership with Seoul. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
The security chiefs of Seoul and Washington have agreed to push for a three-way meeting with their Japanese counterpart before the year is up, as well as begin bilateral dialogue on key technologies. The presidential office said Thursday that National Security Advisor Cho Tae-yong held a phone call with his U.S. counterpart Jake Sullivan earlier in the day, following up on fostering trilateral cooperation with Tokyo amid North Korea's nuclear threat and other challenges to regional and economic security. The two officials said they would aim to hold a trilateral meeting of security advisors within the year and hold the first meeting of Seoul and Washington's dialogue for next generation's emerging and core technology, as agreed by their leaders in April. They also pledged to strengthen cooperation ahead of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit kicking off in San Francisco next week. The defense chiefs of South Korea and the US are meeting early next week in Seoul for their annual bilateral security talks. Their key focus is on bolstering Washington's extended deterrence against North Korea's evolving provocations. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
South Korea and the US are holding their 55th Security Consultative meeting next Monday in Seoul. The Defense Ministry on Thursday said talks between South Korea's Defense Minister Shin Won-sik and his U.S. counterpart Lloyd Austin will be focused on developing the Seoul-Washington alliance into one of the world's best. A Defense Ministry official highlighted the significance, saying that it is the first SCM after the Yoon-Biden summit, as well as the Camp David Trilateral summit with Japan held this year. The two ministers are set to discuss ways to ramp up Washington's extended deterrence against North Korea's provocations and strengthen cooperation in defense science and technology. The following day, Shin and Austin will also attend the defense ministerial meeting in Seoul between South Korea and the 17 United Nations Command member states. Seoul's defense ministry said the participating countries will urge North Korea to stop its unlawful activities, abide by UN Security Council resolutions, and adopt a joint declaration calling for a collective response at times of emergency on the Korean peninsula. The ministry said it would also discuss ways to cooperate with the UN command.
Our military is continuously strengthening cooperation with the UN command to deter war and maintain peace on the Korean peninsula. In that regard, we are currently discussing ways for the Korean military to take part in the UN command's general staff. However, nothing is currently set on the scale or which position.
On the occasion of Austin's visit to South Korea, defense ministers of Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo are widely anticipated to hold a three-way meeting as well to discuss trilateral security cooperation, possibly including the sharing of real-time data of Pyongyang's missile launches. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The United Nations on Thursday revealed a draft of this year's humanitarian resolution on North Korea, strongly calling for its member countries to respect the principle of non-refoulement, especially as cross-border travel resumes. This comes as rising concerns over the forced repatriation of North Korean defectors from nearby countries such as China after North Korea reopened its borders post-pandemic. The European Union, which usually leads the draft, has reportedly been discussing its contents with South Korea, among other countries. It's expected the resolution will be on the General Assembly's agenda at the end of the year. As the Israeli attack on Gaza continues, Türkiye says Israel has agreed to the transfer of patients from the enclave to Türkiye, specifically child cancer patients. In the meantime, the Israeli military claims it's secured a Hamas military stronghold in northern Gaza. Our Lee Si-hoo reports.
According to Turkey state media TRT Haber on Thursday, Israel has agreed to the transfer of child cancer patients in the Gaza Strip to Turkey for treatment. Turkey's health minister Dr. Fertin Koca announced that the patients will be brought in via Egypt before being transferred via ambulance planes. Turkey previously announced on Sunday that Egypt has agreed to its plan to bring some 1,000 who are injured or ill using passageways in Egypt. This comes as the Israeli Defense Forces on Wednesday claimed that its troops secured a Hamas military stronghold in northern Gaza after 10 hours of combat above and below the ground. It said its forces killed dozens of militants, seized weapons, and detonated tunnel shafts in addition to uncovering Hamas's battle plans. Israel launched its assault on Gaza in response to a Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th that killed some 1,400 people. Palestinian officials said over 10,500 Gaza residents had been killed as of Wednesday. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, South Korea's state-run think tank projects the country's economy to expand by 2.2% next year on the back of a gradual recovery in exports. But it's a cut from its previous outlook in August due to weak consumer spending amid high interest rates. Our An Sung-jin takes a closer look.
The nation's economic think tank, the Korea Development Institute, has forecast South Korea's GDP to grow by 2.2% in 2024. That is a 0.8 percentage point increase from 2023's expected economic growth. However, this is a 0.1 percentage point slash from August's projection for both 2023 and 2024. The KDI releases its annual economic outlook reports in May and November, though this year it published 2 additional forecasts in February and August to reflect the rapidly changing economic conditions. The report released on Thursday noted that the expected increase in economic growth for next year is largely attributed to a base effect caused by the low growth this year, as well as a recovery in exports. Forecasts for consumer inflation increased by 0.1 percentage point from August's forecast for both 2023 and 2024. November's report showed a rise in expected consumer inflation. It also showed a slowdown in domestic demand as high interest rates hit spending and infrastructure investment.
High interest rates tend to have a greater negative impact on goods consumption, and this is showing in the recent Korean economy. Despite this, the semiconductor industry, which accounts for a high proportion of Korea's exports, is recovering from the economic downturn, gradually pulling up the overall economic trend.
The think tank suggested that it will be necessary to tighten fiscal policies to ensure price stability, while emphasizing long-term financial stability and managing the impact of South Korea's aging society.
There is a need to promote structural reform throughout the economy to cater to rapid demographic changes and intensifying global market competition with technological advancements in countries such as China.
However, the report also warned of a potential delay in the economic recovery as global oil prices may surge amid the conflict between Israel and Hamas. It also noted that if China's real estate market plummets, hindering its financial stability, this may lead to decreased investment in Korea. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The government has started operating a special price stabilization system that will be run by all related ministries. That's according to Vice Finance Minister Kim Byung-hwan during a meeting on inflation on Thursday, adding that monitoring and stabilizing prices will be managed at a vice ministerial level for a list of products that each ministry is responsible for. Ministries will also create on-site teams for a swift response to keep prices in check. The official said there are signs of stabilization as oil prices have declined for 4 weeks in a row, while agricultural prices are also settling down. But he added the government will continue to keep an eye on all prices nationwide. Starting this week, a ban has been placed on short selling across the South Korean stock market until the end of June next year. Watchers are keeping an eye on market fluctuations and how they could shape the market in the long run. Our finance correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
On Sunday afternoon, the South Korean government announced a temporary ban on short selling when investors trade with borrowed shares. The reason cited was to weed out naked shorting, which is an illegal practice of selling shares that might not actually exist, by making improvements to the current shorting system. Just a few weeks ago, the country's financial watchdog imposed record-high fines on 2 international investment banks for this practice. This is the 4th time that short selling's been prohibited, and the Financial Services Committee cited global economic uncertainty as another reason. The very first day of trade after the announcement showed the country's benchmark Kospi surging to its largest one-day rise in over 3 years, as well as a hike in the tech-heavy Kosdaq. This surge led to the activation of the Kosdaq sidecar limit, which is activated when there is a rise of more than 6% compared to the previous close. Over the next few days, stocks saw consecutive declines as foreign investors turned into net sellers, but the decline showed signs of slowing across Tuesday and Wednesday before rising again on Thursday. Some analysts say that this volatility is a result of foreign investors leaving the market.
There's a possibility that as institutions and foreign investors are unable to short sell, they also won't be able to keep up the same proportion of going long and therefore damage the soundness of the financial market.
Others say it's less about foreign investors and more about the psychological effects of the ban on individual investors, meaning that the market will stabilize soon.
I think the market rise in the first day was more psychological than real because so many individual investors had negative feelings about the market from the short selling.
The government is using this period to make improvements to level the playing field between domestic retail investors and institutional and foreign investors. There are also concerns about the ban preventing the upgrade of South Korea's stock market by Morgan Stanley Capital International to developed market status. Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho addressed these concerns, saying that the government will continue to work on reforms until next June. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the opposition-controlled National Assembly earlier today passed 4 contentious bills pushed by the main opposition Democratic Party amid a walkout from the ruling People Power Party. The passed legislations are the pro-labor Yellow Envelope Bill that aims to guarantee the bargaining rights of indirectly employed workers and the revisions to the broadcasting law that seek to alter public broadcasters' governance framework. The revisions to the Broadcasting Act passed unanimously among the 176 sitting lawmakers, while the Yellow Envelope Bill passed with all but 1 abstention. Initially, the PPP had planned for a filibuster over the bills, which they decided to replace with a walkout. Today, November 9th, is National Firefighters Day here in South Korea. The date symbolizes the emergency services hotline number 119. Marking the occasion at Yongsan Children's Garden in Seoul, President Yoon Suk-yeol said firefighters raised South Korea's global status after displaying dedication and a sense of unity in response to a deadly earthquake in Türkiye and wildfires in Canada. Yoon said firefighters were dispatched to 130 emergency sites across South Korea last year, rescuing 110,000 people. He said a nation with brave firefighters is a safe nation, adding that appreciating them makes a nation truly healthy. The president also called on his cabinet to accelerate supplying the fire agency with improved technology. Some 1,000 firefighters, as well as representatives from the embassies of Türkiye and Canada, attended the event. South Korea's International Press Awards, the Hinspeter Awards, honor journalists devoted to telling stories of truth through camera lens, named after a German journalist who reported the May 18th pro-democracy movement decades ago. This year, the top prize was given to 4 video journalists who covered the opposition movements facing Russia's Vladimir Putin's regime in the wake of its war in Ukraine. Song Yoo-jin reports.
These works have been recognized for their remarkable documentation of history from the front lines. They are the winners of this year's Hinspeter Awards. Named after German video journalist Jürgen Hinspeter, who filmed and reported South Korea's May 18th democratization movement, these awards celebrate video journalists dedicated to truth, human rights, and justice.
It often feels like we focus solely on the casualties and negotiations of the Russian-Ukraine war. This year's projects shed light on the voices opposing the war and have effectively portrayed the suffering of countless civilians impacted by the conflict.
The top prize, the World at a Crossroads Award, was given to the documentary Inside Russia, Putin's War at Home. It was made by a team of 4 video journalists who risked imprisonment as they covered domestic criticism of the Vladimir Putin regime, the opposition movements against the Ukraine war, and the demand for press freedom and free expression.
Sometimes your voice can be not heard, and it can be very lonely and isolating. But it's still worth it to stand by what you believe and stand for the democratic values.
The Battle of Bakhmut, the winner in the news category, shows what life is like in one of Ukraine's most dangerous battlegrounds. The 3 journalists capture the harsh realities of war through the lives of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians during their 2-week stay in the city.
When something is that dire, when the situation is that dangerous, I think that's, when journalism comes in, and that's some of the times it's most important for us to be there to show the reality of what's happening.
The award for features went to Russian soft power in the CAR, where 2 journalists carried on the works of their colleagues who lost their lives while investigating the Wagner mercenary group in the Central African Republic 5 years ago. Just like Hintspetter, these visual storytellers continue to illuminate the untold stories of our time, ensuring that the voiceless are heard and the world bears witness to their struggles. 송유진, Arirang News.
Moving on, the Korea Science and Technology Fair 2023 kicked off its 4-day event starting from today. There, you can get a chance to explore indigenous space technology from Korea's lunar orbiter Danuri to space rocket Nuri, as well as quantum computers and much more. Shin Se-byuk reports.
A snake-shaped robot navigates through a small tube. It is designed to conduct rescue operations in disaster situations. Meet Korea's indigenous space technology from the country's first lunar orbiter Danuri to the homegrown space rocket Nuri. An array of homegrown scientific technologies from South Korea are showcased at the Gwacheon National Science Museum in Gwacheon, just south of Seoul. At the Korea Science and Technology Fair, South Korea's state-of-the-art technology for the future, as well as items featured at the world's biggest tech fair, the CES, are on display. There are two main parts, the cutting-edge technology pavilion and the flagship technology pavilion. At the former, people can explore Korea's scientific innovations in leading fields such as space, robots, and quantum technologies. This bio-inspired bird-shaped robot mimics how birds flap their wings. This enables it to fly with greater agility than traditional drones. Korean-developed quantum computer technology can also be found. Quantum computers are capable of solving complex problems faster than any other supercomputer.
We are currently developing a 20-qubit quantum computer with plans to achieve a 50-qubit scale by 2026.
Other technologies such as Samsung's latest OLED technologies and Kai's quadruped robots are also on display. The flagship technology pavilion is where people can explore the latest achievements in leading future industries such as bio, hydrogen, and rechargeable batteries. The Ministry of Science and ICT aims for this fair to facilitate collaborations between Korean scientists and international institutions.
This year, foreign diplomatic missions have been invited to explore our scientific achievements with the hope of potential international research collaborations between Korean and foreign scientists.
Other programs besides the main sections include lectures and forums on the latest research trends, as well as the Family Zone where people can experience various technologies. The Korea Science and Technology Fair 2023 runs until November 12th. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
New Jeans will perform at the Billboard Music Awards this year, the first K-pop girl group to do so. According to the group's agency on Thursday, New Jeans will perform Super Shy and OMG, both of which charted on the Billboard Hot 100. New Jeans is also a finalist for 5 BBMAs this year. The group is up for Top Global K-pop Artist, Top Billboard Global Artist excluding the US, Top K-pop Album for their second EP, Get Up, and Top Global K-pop Song for both Ditto and OMG. The BBMAs are one of the 3 biggest US pop music awards alongside the Grammy Awards and American Music Awards. This year's ceremony will be held virtually and live-streamed on Billboard's official social media channels on November 19th.
Showers are coming and going for some regions. Behind the rain clouds is a surge of frigid air mass, which is getting ready to enter the country. Tomorrow, a big drop in temperatures is expected here in Seoul with highs of only 8 degrees Celsius. For the next few days, early winter-like conditions will continue to take over. The further south you are, the more rain you'll be receiving. Jeju Island will see up to 50 millimeters. 전라남도, 경상남도 provinces will see 5 to 30. Other inland regions will see relatively less with about 5 millimeters in the forecast. In the meantime, morning lows will be starting off at 1 degree and Busan will be very warm at 13 degrees Celsius. Sunshine will make a return for most regions by the daytime. Highs in Seoul will get up to 8 degrees, Daejeon and Gwangju 11, Busan will be reaching 15 degrees. This coming Saturday, morning temperatures will be plunging to -1 degree in Seoul. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news. Good night.